Hello, everybody, and welcome to my new series today with how to become a 10,000 keynote speakers. Yes, how do you move from being an aspiring speaker to rising speakers in the stars? And to do those interviews, I've had the pleasure to bring today Leanne Christie all the way from Australia. And how are you, Leanne? Thank you very much for being with me today.
I am wonderful. Spring has sprung and we've all got a spring in our step. You certainly do today.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, Leanne, you have one of the biggest speaker bureau in the leading speaker bureau in Australia, right? You've got um, a, a House of O. Tell us what House of O is all about.
Thanks, Claire. It's actually a place to house my three brands. So I have Ovations Speakers Bureau, I have Ode Speaker Management, and Standing Ovation Speaker Coaching. So all three of those brands sit under the House of O.
Excellent. So not just a speaker bureau, but also there's a lot more on actually helping speakers become great speakers, right? So it's amazing that you're doing quite a lot on that evolving and training and mastery, because really that's what it's about, right? A speaker is a skill, right?
Oh, it is. And it's something that we have to keep, onto all the time. Yeah, the Speakers Bureau, I founded that in 1986. So that's been going for quite a while. The Speaker Management Company, that was 15 years ago. That I founded that. And with the management company, I work globally. Okay, so I have a team in the US that looks after the US and Europe, and then a team for Asia Pac as well. The Speakers Bureau only works in Australasia. I didn't take that to the US because even in the 90s, there were speaker bureaus there, and I didn't want to do that. But when the idea of a management company came along about 15 years ago, when it was brand new, I took that globally.
Nice, nice, nice. So what's the difference then? Just explain for those who don't quite know what speaker management would be compared to
Oh,
a speaker bureau.
you're right, because they're very different things. I don't need to start another speaker bureau, right?
Mhm.
So if you think about them as different sides of the same coin. So a speaker bureau works for their clients and they find the right speaker for their client. A speaker management company works for the speaker and they find the right clients for that speaker.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
This
so
is
they're
it.
quite
That's the
different things.
difference.
Yeah, and a bureau is more like a broker. Like we have thousands of speakers on our websites. And for some speakers, they just think, oh, the pinnacle of my speaking career is to get on speaker bureau websites. I would question that lovingly, that getting on a speaker bureau website actually doesn't mean anything.
Mm.
Okay, it doesn't really. I mean, what it means is, yes, you've got a demo video, you've got some good materials that they will put you on your site. So tick, congratulations. But it doesn't guarantee that
Mm.
anybody's going to buy you necessarily.
Mm,
Okay.
mm, mm, mm,
So yeah, a bureau is like a broker. A
mm.
management company, instead of like having thousands of speakers like we do in the bureau, we only have 15 speakers globally. Right. And
Right. Okay.
one's in Germany and one's in France, one's in Israel, a couple are in the US, one's in Singapore, and a few in Australia. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
Mm.
all of those speakers, usually they could be anywhere from 500,000 a year. We build them up to 1 million a year, 1.5 million a year. I think the highest we got with one of ours was to 2 million a year in speaking.
Wow.
And so what I really do in the speaker management company is I take someone at around that $500,000 mark is my sweet spot and build them to that $1 million. That's
Nice.
why I started the $1 million mastermind, my coaching program, is
Mhm.
to help speakers to grow their speaking business.
So how do you think, I mean, how do you actually evolve? So somebody, what's the next level? So you're a speaker already, you've done quite a few gigs, you're getting paid for it already. What's the next level? So how do you move that needle further? What do you see the difference and the skills needed for a speaker to actually, move that needle?
Okay, there's a few things. One of the first things I'd say, you may be speaker ready, but are you, for example, bureau ready? Because in being bureau ready, you're you're a lot more ready to market yourself. So what would that mean? I go onto so many speaker websites, and within 30 seconds, I can tell you they're actually do more in coaching than speaking. I can just see that straight away, right? So they're not really somebody that is out there all day, every day, treading the board speaking. Do I run towards that person or do I back away? And when you're buying on behalf of very big corporate clients, you need to have a website that you will run towards. And I think if I can put it in a nutshell, it is very hard for any of us to see ourselves from the outside, right? If we could all do that, none of us would need therapy, or we'd all be higher beings. But to take that to our marketing, it's the same thing. It's hard for us to see ourselves from the outside. Yeah. So as much as you can. So first of all, the compassion for that, because it's hard for me too, right? But after you have compassion for that, it's like, okay, so how do I do the best I can? You make sure that you take your hat off and put a client hat on. And I even say to speakers, before they look at their website, especially before they look at a video of themselves, say at least 3 times, I'm watching her. I'm seeing what he does. I want to just see what she does well. I want to see what he can do better. It's actually, because of those of you who speak about the brain would know more about this than me, so hi, and thank you for all that you do. But because of how our brains are wired, it's very hard to see ourselves from the outside. So we need to use all those tools as much as possible.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And again, it's about connecting on that emotional level. Is that subconscious, isn't it? When you arrive something, it takes you 7 seconds to kind of feel attracted by it or repelled by it. Like you said, it's one of those. So every single step of the way is really important to get to that next level. It's every single part of it, right? Really.
Yeah, but it does start with the big picture, right? And a lot of speakers just cannot see. And even me just saying this now, they'll go, oh, that might be me, which is great. I'm glad I could be of help. But they don't see that the first thing somebody sees when they see their website is a consultant or a coach or a trainer. And if that's what they want, that is perfect. But your question to me was, how do we get more speaking if we're not getting much yet? And I find that that's one of the biggest blind spots that people have. Oh, can I tell you the second one that goes back to back with that?
Yes, of course.
If I do mention to them, look, I saw your website, the first 30 seconds, I can see you do a lot of coaching. Oh, yes, I love my coaching, da, 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 da. I said, yeah. But when you go in, the first impression you get is all about you as a coach and not as a speaker. And here is the second thing. We all do it, okay? Then I hear the yes, but chicken. Yes, but if you press here and go down to the bottom right-hand side of the yes, but, right? If we can, and again, that's why to see ourselves from the outside, the yes, but chicken is not helpful if you really want to go to the next step, right?
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
helpful because you're not there. If a bureau in the US is looking at your website, you're not in their ear to go, oh, yes, but if you go to that other tab, no, the other tab and go down. And if you, No, we need to make it really easy for them, right?
Yeah,
And that's
very
why
good.
you need someone from the outside. Yeah, one of the biggest products that we sell in my coaching is a marketing audit, and you end up with 15 to 20 pages, right?
Nice.
When we go
Nice.
through all the marketing and give you all the feedback, and then I go through it with you one-on-one. It's just because you
Mm,
can't see yourself from the outside, and then you can go through and
true.
tick off everything.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. True, true, true. That's brilliant. Leanne, another question that, really is something that as a speaker, we get a lot asked to do freebies and showcase and oh, yes, oh, we haven't got much budget, but we'll do all the marketing for you and you'll be all on our this and that. And so as a speaker bureau, how do you work with the speakers on fees and negotiating fees and actually saying to the speaker perhaps, well, maybe do this one or don't do this one.
Yeah,
How
you're
do you
right.
actually
You're right.
work with them?
Okay, can I answer that with my different hats on? Okay, because what do we do about, freebie talks? I want to answer that with a bureau hat. I want to answer that with a management hat. I want to answer that with my coaching hat because I think it'd be interesting. They're not all, there's just different sides to it. Okay, so
Absolutely.
if you're a bureau consultant, yeah, well, for a start, for a bureau consultant, 25% of nothing is, okay. It's not really of great value to a bureau.
No.
And so you'll find one of the good things working with bureaus, if a client was to come to a bureau with a freebie offer for you, is that the bureau will very much be on your side to get a fee.
Mm.
And one of the reasons why some speakers like to go exclusive with a bureau is because, say, for instance, you're fairly well known in your industry and you get a lot of these freebie invitations, but you know that the clients have money and it's really difficult for you to say no all the time. It could be good in that case to be exclusive with a bureau because they get to be the ones who say, sorry, unavailable on those dates. And also to be able to look at it with a different eye as to could that be of value and what value could that be? So, for example, one of the freebie ones I got as an offer, actually, I won't say the company, but it was a company in Singapore. And they said, oh, if Jack does a freebie for us, then we can buy him for the 5 others after that. So there'll be 6 in total, but we want the 5. And we were like, let me just check with him because I wanted a moment to think. I already had my idea. I went back, checked with the speaker on my idea, and the speaker said yes. So I went back to the client. I gave them an offer. And I said, either you could do this one of 2 ways. I will do a agreement for 6 speeches, as you said. Oh. And the last one will be the freebie. Or if you prefer, we can do, don't know what the number was, would have had to be 5 for that. But anyway, 20% off the total.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
I went back and gave them a choice.
Nice.
So there are ways that you can work, and it's great working with a bureau because you know that they're on the same side with you. Secondly, from the management company point of view, when speakers that I manage come to me with, oh, so-and-so wants to do a freebie, or we come to them with a freebie, what our agreement is, with my sales team, is that we need to come to them with a good case of why they should do that. That's good enough for us as well as for them. So, for example, I'll give you one that we did recently with 2 of our speakers that I manage. MPI, Meeting Planners International, out of the USA, had a global conference in June this year in Cancun, Mexico.
Nice.
there was an estimated 4,000 meeting planners coming from around the world to Cancun. They were looking at our speakers to come from Australia. The other one didn't even have to travel very far. She was just coming from Texas.
Happy days.
But they wanted 2 speakers, yeah. And because they're MPI, they're used to asking for speakers for free. But we still needed to make a case for ourselves and for the client that it would be worthwhile. I think 4,000 meeting planners is a pretty lay down misère. I think you'll agree. But then we were able to go back and negotiate with them around the costs, especially for the person from Australia. So although they're not doing a fee, what costs can they help us with? And then for us, it was a matter of negotiating, because this is the most important for us. If we're going to get something out of it, we needed our salesperson to be there with them. So the negotiation for us was a lot around getting him there and housing him. Well, 3, in fact, 2 speakers and then him, and housing him so that he could be there on site, getting the leads and following up, etc. Okay. And then with my coaching hat on, going one step further, but I'll use that same example so as not to take up too much time. Then with my coaching hat on, what I would do is I'm like, okay, who's going to be there? How can we know beforehand? They're not going to give us the list, of course, but how can we get an idea of who's going to be there? Even if they don't give us the list, they can give us who. And then I get the speakers to go through and do a personal reach out to everybody that they can on LinkedIn. Right?
Yes.
And we have to harvest that to send the information afterwards and ask closing call to action questions afterwards. One of the biggest problems, let's take it away from that. One of the biggest opportunities for speakers when they do, as you say, a freebie, okay, one of the biggest opportunities for speakers is to actually do some sales activity around it. In my 30 years of working with speakers, this is the number one problem I find with freebies, where speakers can step up and do something a bit more and have more control, is that they go, do the speech, and then leave. And if I hear them complaining, oh, I did this freebie and nothing happened, and I say to them, okay, so what did you do about that? What do you mean, what do I do? I spoke. Okay. It is a speaking business. We need to run it like a business, and we need to make the most of those opportunities. And there are plenty of things that we can do ourselves. That's just one of them.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, very cool. And again, it comes back to that, having the support and having the all those touch points. You know, I talk about customer experience, so I always talk about, you know, the journey mapping. Well, as a speaker, you know, it was one of the presentation I did at one of the association, because as a speaker you need to have your journey mapping as well. What do you do before, what do you do during, what do you do after? And that's really important. And a lot of things, like you said, it is a business, right? You need to kind of be able to have all those steps so you're not missing out a step, kind of things.
Yeah. And, you know, to your point, they're so important that, like, in my coaching, I do all 3 of those as separate sessions. Like, even after you've done the agreement and everything, right? You think it's done, and nothing to do with all the travel, but you know, what do you have to do before the presentation, during, and after? They're a whole session just on those 3. There's a lot that people can do. But a lot of speakers, you know, they get the gig, yay, great. Then they turn up and do it. There isn't this thing in between. And then they leave, and there's not the after. But running it as a business is a whole different mindset, isn't it?
So what would you say the difference would be? What sets apart, like, let's say, like a $5,000 US dollars, say, speaker, to moving to that $10,000? Because it's quite a big gap. I think there's less gap between a 2.5 and a 5, but the 5 and the 10 is a much bigger gap, right?
There really is. I think you've nailed that quite well. So what I'm doing, so you know, first of all, in my head, I'm answering that question in my head, or thinking how I'd answer it. for based in Australia, based in
Right.
Asia, based in Europe, based in the US. Let's start with the US. Just because it's US dollars, we don't have to assume it's in the US, first of all, because I work globally. And I think that's a good thing in this conversation, to get people not assuming, right, that it's based in any one place. So, okay, I'm going to say some generalities. Is that okay? Generalities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Generally speaking, bureaus don't spend a lot of time, effort, energy, excitement on booking $5,000 speakers in the US.
Okay. Interesting.
And again, what did I say? What is 25% of zero? Nothing.
Right.
You're in business. Well, bureaus are too. And would you rather get a percentage on 5,000 or 10 or 20?
Absolutely. Right.
So most bureaus, again, I'm speaking very general now, okay? But most bureaus would want to be booking speakers at least at that $20,000 mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And
right.
they wouldn't, I can't think of any bureaus who'd want to book anybody under 5,000 in any.
Okay.
And some of them, they might occasionally, or there's some bureaus that are in more rural areas that might book a 5,000 US speaker. But again, generalities, please. $10,000 might be the starting point for a lot of bureau bookers.
Right.
So
yeah,
because of that difference. That's
between.
one of the great things. Yeah, working in the US, it makes us up ourselves,
right.
doesn't it? Like, how do we get to that very next step?
Nice. And do you think Australia's got it's a different market, total different market in terms of pricing?
Very much so.
Yeah.
There's 25 million people in Australia, and there's 25 million just in LA. Just start there. Let's just start there, end there. That's the story. That's how it is. Right. I mean, I've lived in the US for a couple of years, with my management company. And, for our personal family reasons, we came back to live in Australia where our family is. And it's just where I call home. And I'm lucky enough in this day and age to be able to work globally. And, I go to the US a couple of times a year. I'm off there again in November of this year. So I get my fill of the US. And I'm online with them every other day. So, but very much, it is a very different market down here.
Do you see any specific trend at the moment? What are the trend in terms of topics? And again, it could be, is there difference between countries at the moment, or is it more something that, again, a bit of a generalization in terms of what are the hot topics for speakers?
Yeah. Okay. There are generalizations, and I can do that because I work in the different areas. The US this year, there has been a return. Well, probably it happened more last year. Last year, many of the bureaus had one of their best financial years ever last year. Unbelievable. This year, it's not terrible. It's just not breaking records like they were last year. And what happened with last year as well, and some of it's still happening now, is the sort of a big resurgence in the inspirational speakers over there. And I think that's a lot of what we went through. And of course, the obvious ones of mental health. So I shouldn't pass by the obvious. I'm trying to pass by the obvious. The mental health, the working from home, the teams when you're working from home, productivity when you're working from home, the interruption of ChatGPT, AI. Everybody talks about those things. So I'm just passing by a lot of those because I know a lot of other people talk about those. And that's all true. But I found it interesting to see that resurgence of the inspirational. And I think that that's related back to, that post-COVID era. I'm noticing...
Bringing some vavavoom into the teams and into people, right?
Yeah. I'm noticing too a return of the industry specialists in banking,
Okay.
finance, things like that, because of the recession maybe we had to have that we didn't quite have, that we seem to be skimming through in many countries now, because of the interest rates doing what they've been doing, not just here in the US, and et cetera, et cetera. So we've certainly found, my banking speaker now, his fee in the US is 50,000, which is very nice. So yeah, certainly a
Interesting.
resurgence there. And so remember, speaking isn't only for people who are coaches coming through, but I know there's a lot of those probably listening to this, so that's why I wanted to talk to them. But, speakers also come from people that are inside industries
Mm,
and
yeah.
subject matter experts.
Mm.
It's not our inspirational speakers, but doesn't mean what they have to say is not to that industry inspiring
Mm. Oh no,
and help.
absolutely. And I think I started like that because I was talking about mystery shopping and that was my industry. So I was
Right.
talking about mystery shopping and customer experience and moved a lot more onto the employee experience side of it. And really, you need to feel good in yourself if you're going to be able to deliver any service whatsoever. So the industry, the knowledge, the expertise, that, thought leadership in the industry, it's, for me, it's really important that, you know what you're talking about kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes
So
sense.
that whole sector is just as valid.
Mm, 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 mm. So just to finish up, Leanne, and because I'm really, really grateful of your time, but what would you say the three top tips would be for an aspiring speaker to move to rising speakers and kind of move the needle a little bit if they would take three things out of your suggestions, what would you say it would be?
Okay. Let me, all right, I've got a peg. Let me make that easier by doing the 3 A's. We start with A, we'll just do 3 A's. Okay. Attitude, activity, and audience ready. Let me explain. Number one,
Oh,
attitude.
nice. I like it.
One of the biggest problems I find as I've worked with speakers over the 30 plus years, okay, honestly, they don't think big enough.
Oh,
Let me explain. When I started my bureau, I was the same, right? So this is not about them. Me too. When I started my bureau, Claire, right, from the kitchen table 38 years ago, you know what my big dream was? If I could earn as much from this as I did in my paying job, like do what I love, if I can do what I love and get paid the same,
mm,
how exciting would that be?
mm.
Am I going to make her wrong? No, she got going and she got started. But if there's one thing I could say to people coming in now, dream bigger, dream bigger. Like, listen to me talking about like the speaker at 50,000 US, dream bigger, truly, 10,000, great. Well, you're just getting onto bureau things at 10,000. Don't think that that's the end. Go for more. Secondly, activity. I want to go back to that because we talked about it in the pre, the during, and the after, and I gave you a little example of what we did with the women that spoke at MPI. Like, think of it as a business. Your job is not to just get on a stage and speak. I'm sorry. I know that's the part you love. But guess what? This is a whole business. And if you want to grow the business, right, until you've got a salesperson, a marketing person, operations, you'll do it all. And then you can outsource it. Okay. But you need to do all that. And every opportunity is, you want to be able to get spin-offs from that. To be in my management company, if you're not at the level where you're getting at least 2 spin-offs, so that's 2 people coming up and booking you
Booking you.
after you speak every time, audience ready. How good are you really? People who say, oh, I'm a great speaker, I can speak on anything, just get me on a stage. Well, here's your feedback. from last time you spoke, how many spin-offs did you get? What could you do better?
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
Attitude,
brilliant.
activity, and audience ready. How's
I
that?
love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And even more loving it, I know you have a giveaway to give away, which is fabulous.
Well, when you suggested something, I thought, oh, thinking of the people that we're talking to, I think if they had one wish, if I could say, what's one wish, they'd say, I want to get more bookings. I want to get more bookings. How do I get more bookings? Right. So I've got a list, and I think it's like 99 ways of getting more leads. So we will put this up later as a
Will,
QR code. But if you just go into that QR code and give us your email, we will send back to you a whole thing of 99 ways. So get a good attitude. Here's your activity. 99 ways of getting leads,
take
and then you're
action.
going to be audience ready so you can get more spin-offs from that and grow your business.
Yes, how fantastic. Leanne, absolutely loved having you today. Thank you so, so much. And it's been amazing to get to know each other as well. Even if it's just virtually, it's fabulous. So if you want to watch more of the video, subscribe on the button and go and watch the other videos. It's going to be a lot more to come, a lot more about your communication, your skills, your, anything that you be able to do and take to the next level, because we need speakers. We need people to share love, expertise, passion, all that insight. There's a big, big world out there. So let's go and do it. So thank you very much for being part of it,
Bye,
Leanne, and
everybody.
I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for
Bye.
now.